Let's get ready to rumble!
Wladimir Klitchko has hinted he will continue his boxing career after the devastating stoppage loss to Anthony Joshua on Saturday. He's hinted he will continue his boxing career. In the aftermath of the fight, he admitted he was interested in a rematch, and in a recent tweet, it suggested that he intends to fight again. Tom Loeffler confirmed the inclusion of a rematch clause in the contract, speaking on Saturday. This is what he told Sky Sports. Klitschko said he wants to analyze what's happened and, he's interested. He enjoyed the fight. We all heard that, so I won't go over that again. Joshua says he'd consider giving Klitschko the rematch. As long as Rob McCracken thinks it's the move, then Joshua will take the fight. Eddie Hearn, I don't think there'll be no complaints from Eddie. He likes the way that money's rolling in. The IBF, however, have said they haven't heard anything about a rematch clause, so that could put a spanner in that. Before the Klitschko fight, Eddie Hearn said they might have to give up the IBF belt if Joshua won and take on Pulev, who's the mandatory from Hungary. I don't know if Pulev is prepared to take any step-aside money, but Nice Salland, Pulev's promoter, he wants Pulev to get his shot, apparently. So I don't think Team Pulev want to hang around. He's not getting no younger. So what does Joshua do? Pulev or Klitschko? I would go Klitschko. Way bigger profile. Defeating him twice would be like ending his career, literally. He'll always have that attached to his name. And is it possible Joshua could end up with no belts by taking on Klitschko? Because the WBA were adamant that Luis Ortiz gets a shot straight away at the winner of Joshua Klitschko. So a lot of boardroom stuff has to go down before we see what Joshua does next. He's the man with the target on his back right now. But a target he welcomes, I would assume. Joshua actually said, hopefully I defeat Klitschko and then I can fight Ortiz. He wants them all. He wants them all. He wants them all. So I don't know. That could be a whole load of step-aside money being given out to Ortiz and Pulev. Why don't Ortiz and Pulev just fight? Have a massive fight on the undercard of Klitschko and Fury. And the winner will do absolutely huge numbers wherever it's located. They'll definitely get Showtime, HBO, maybe both on it again, because the heavyweight division will be at fever pitch right there. That's where it needs to be. If shit is going to happen, that's where it needs to be. If boxing does what it's supposed to do in the heavyweight division, then you might as well make a separate column for heavyweight boxing and what the rest are doing. You might as well, literally. Tyson Fury looks like he's been spurred into some semblance of a attempted comeback to get his fitness back. We'll see how long that lasts. Deontay Wilder, he wants the Joshua fight by the end of 2017. There's just no way Joshua's going to be able to fill all them obligations by the end of the year. I'd suggest one more fight this year is how that's going to go down. We're living in an era where it's not fresh news about the neurological damage that boxing can do. The punches were so powerful on Saturday. You can't fight more than 2 of these fights a year and it'd be safe. I don't think you can. Not more than 2. 2 a year with a top 5, anyone from the top 5, Joseph Parker included. But Showtime will be keen to do Deontay and Anthony Joshua. Steven Espinoza hopes to have Joshua in the States within the next few fights. He was speaking to Sky Sports. Joshua has the deal with Showtime and, they're going to be pushing for that. But it has to be right before Eddie takes Joshua out there. And I can see why they were a little cautious, but I think they have to go for a stateside fight since they've signed a deal with Showtime. I believe they have to. But Espinoza is targeting a fight with Wilder around 2018, early 2018. He wants time to build it and perhaps maybe let Joshua have a couple of fights in the US to get acquainted and become more of a household name and then go for the big showdown with Wilder. I understand all that building the fight, but you have to watch the biggest fight of our era. That was Pacquiao and Floyd and how long that dragged on for. I'm not sure if it's a good idea to build it. it will be good to get Joshua in another unification fight, at least maybe at the end of this year or next year. It would be good to do that. And who knows, maybe Klitschko's saying he's going to make a comeback. He might not exercise the rematch straight away. He might want a confidence builder. 2 losses on the bounce might not be a bad idea. Took some concussive shots, 41 years of age. He's been pretty inactive. 1 fight in nearly 2 years or whatever it is, 1.5 years. He might need someone he can just roll over. I believe there's a limitation on how long he can exercise the clause for a rematch. And Joshua's not someone you want to rush back into after taking them big concussive shots. Now, in my opinion, it will suit Joshua to go back in quicker. You know, if you can get Klitschko in there quicker, while he doesn't have a chance to really develop a game plan, change his clientele in the coaching department, or really get some time to reflect on what he should do, all the better for Joshua. Kevin Barry, Joseph Parker's coach, talking about he would have knocked out Joshua in the 6th. Oh, so you have a right cross like Wladimir Klitschko. When have we seen that? Eddie Hearn believes that Joshua can revive the US pay-per-view market. And if he does that, Joshua stands to be the richest British athlete in the history of British sports, you know, since events have been recorded at least. He's arguing that Mayweather wasn't necessarily global money, it was more American pay-per-view money. Joshua was aiming to hit a lot more territories. Floyd didn't have a lot of endorsements. Joshua is endorsed by Under Armour, Lucozade, and Beats by Dre. Not bad. Eddie Hearn is a dreamer, but you only live once. Dream big, aim big, and see how far you can go towards attaining your target and your goal. Why not? But, you know, that's big aspirations. That's massive aspirations. Floyd earns $600 million. Joshua's success is predicated on him winning. Joshua's good, but he's definitely beatable in this crop of heavyweights, in my opinion. But you can always come back. And if Eddie's hoping for the Floyd thing to materialize, that's 1 in a million. Like Pete Rock and Seal Smooth said. I really don't understand people. I can understand, you don't like Floyd, but not understanding what kind of talent it took for him to amass the record he did. And over the period he did it. And negotiate the financial moves. And then you have to flagship the sport and sell the fight. Train. Remarkable athlete, you know, has to be said. But that's the blueprint Eddie's looking at. And no harm in that. No harm in that at all. He said, if Joshua boxed on pay-per-view in America, then you can start talking about 30 million, 40 million, 50 million a fight. And right now, it's roughly 10, 15 million. That's where they're at with the Klitschko fight, with the pay-per-view revenue to kick in. They could both earn up to 20 million apiece. But when you're talking 50 million, that's the money. Eddie wants that. Eddie wants the 50 mil a fight. That's what he wants. That's what he wants. His problem is that there's only one real heavyweight contender out in America, and that's Deontay Wilder. Well, I say contender. Champion. He's the only viable heavyweight, at least obvious one, who can challenge the likes of Ortiz, the likes of Joshua, the likes of Tyson Fury. So, are they going to be able to headline Joshua on Showtime pay-per-view and then have to import another heavyweight from another country to get them figures that Eddie Hearn is talking about? Because it would work better if America had their own prospect or contender or a rival belt holder, perhaps, like Wilder. If America get behind Wilder, really get behind him and hype it up, promote it, then you could see 50 million, 60 million, whatever. Then you can see that. But are people going to pay 50 million to see Ortiz, Joshua, Fury, Joshua, Parker, Joshua, Wilder, Joshua, Klitschko, Joshua? I don't know. Bellew and Wilder are still going at it on Twitter, apparently. Wilder said, a quick reminder, mate, and showed some video footage of him knocking out Lajkovic and Lajkovic's foot spazzing out of control on the floor. Bellew responded by showing footage of him finishing off David Haye. He claims that David Haye is better than any name that Deontay Wilder has on his 38-0 record. Not going to get no argument from me on that. Lou DiBella has told Bellew's representative to get in touch. He said this is a fight that's US versus UK, and a fight with Tony certainly might help that storyline, right? I think it's certainly interesting, DiBella told Sky Sports. It'll be interesting over here. I'm not sure if it's going to give Wilder the leverage or popularity that he seeks. That will put him in a position perhaps for these bigger fights, for these big money fights. I'm not sure. But we'll take it over here, man. We'll take it over here. Primarily, one of the reasons why British boxing is working at the level it is over here is because, one, the fighters are producing in the ring, and there's a few champions, whether they're WBO or IBF or whatever they're producing. I mean, there's been 4 belts in boxing since the 80s, and we haven't had as much champions since the 80s as we do now. So, obviously, something is going right in terms of pugilism in the UK. The other important piece to what I'm saying is it's a very small island. So, when Wilder knocked out Audley Harrison, a lot of people knew Audley in the country. He was the Olympic gold medalist. And it's a smaller pond. You don't have to do that much to familiarize fighters from America with the British crowd, as you would trying to break America if you was British. So that fight works over here, Bellew and Wilder. In America, no one knows Tony Bellew. They haven't got a clue who he is. Only you guys who follow the sport, you know who he is. You could perhaps do pay-per-view over here with Wilder and Bellew. Perhaps. But Tony Bellew can walk around any city in America. And only you hardcore guys over there would know who he is. Maybe a few people who saw the Creed film would recognize him outside of that hardcore demographic, but that's it. It wouldn't be that much. The Rocky franchise went bust way before Antonio Tarver played the champion in what I guess was the last Rocky film, Rocky VI, post-millennium. That was terrible, actually. I think Wilder would gather some crowds if he walked in England. He'd gather some crowds. He definitely would. Not massive crowds. Not Mike Tyson-esque crowds. But people would know him. More people would know him in the UK than people know Bellew in the US.